Hello Class T, so it's time for Chapter 4. I hang back, but Asher marches up to them. You can't come here, we were here first. Luke flicks his skateboard with his foot and catches it in one hand. He leans towards her. And who's going to stop us? Asher doesn't move. I'm not sure what she's going to say, but then she turns and points at me. She is. My eyes open wide. What does she want me to do? Luke thinks she's being funny. Asher folds her arms. If you don't go, Izzy will set a wolf on you. Luke laughs out loud. Yeah, right. I look at Scott, but he doesn't laugh. Instead, he's looking beyond me to the far side of the building, and I know our secret is out. I turn and see the wolf standing up. He's watching us all. See, I say. I try to sound brave, but I can hear my voice shake. I think of wolf language in Jakob's book. Maybe it works for humans too. I try to stand tall. I put my hands on my hips to look even bigger, and I look right at Luke. I try to show him I'm not scared. Luke frowns and turns to look back at the wolf again. It starts to walk towards us, limping on its front paw. Luke takes a step back, but Scott can't take his eyes off it. He'll bite you if you don't leave us, says Connor. Scott looks at me. He's hurt. It's the first time I've heard Scott say anything for a long time. I forgot how soft his voice is. He sounds like the old Scott from primary school, when we found a baby blackbird and tried to collect ants and worms to feed it. I suddenly feel bad. The wolf is in pain, and I haven't done anything to help him. I'm looking after him, I say. Scott frowns. We can't leave him like this. He drops low and moves slowly, holding out his hand. The wolf lowers its head and sniffs the air. Scott! Luke shouts at him. Get away from it! But it's as if Scott is wrapped up in the world of this wolf and can't hear anyone else at all. I feel a pang of jealousy. He's my wolf. I saw him first, not Scott. I don't want Scott to be the first one to touch him. Scott has his back to us, but I can see him pull his skull and crossbones bandana from his head and slip it over the wolf's nose to muzzle him. Scott looks back at me. Can you help me hold him, Izzy? I need to look at his paw. I crept forward. I know I shouldn't do this. It's dangerous. It's stupid. Asher thinks so too. Look, we should just call a vet, she says. He can't bite with this on, says Scott. I hold on to the wolf's neck, pushing my fingers into his fur. It feels rough on the outside, but the undercoat is soft and thick. I can feel his bones. I didn't realise it was so thin. Scott runs his hand down the wolf's leg to his paw, and he bends down to look at it closely. Hold him, says Scott. He's got something in there. The wolf gives a sharp yelp. Then Scott holds up a long spike of glass. He'll feel better now, he says. He makes a sign for me to back away, then slips the bandana from the wolf's nose and steps back too. The wolf licks his paw, and when he turns to walk away, he isn't lame anymore. He wants feeding, says Scott. He's thin. I'm feeding him, I say. I want to thank Scott, but I still feel jealous. He's my wolf. I found him. I look at Scott and see his face is red and blotchy. Jakob peers at him. Are you crying? No, Scott mumbles. You are, says Jakob. I gave Jakob a shove. Sometimes he should learn to keep his thoughts inside his head. But I can see Scott is crying. I remember how upset he was when we found the baby blackbird without its mum. We tried to save it, but we couldn't. Scott locked himself in the classroom cupboard and cried for hours after it died. Luke steps in front of Jacob. Just shut it, okay? He's not crying. Luke puts his skateboard on the ramp again and rolls it under his foot. You can't stay, Asher says. Wolfland is our place. I nod. You've got your own skate park. Luke looks at us and then at the long ramp. This is much better than the skate park. We all know that. What if we teach you some tricks? Luke asks. The silence is thick in the air between us. It's as if Luke is looking for middle ground, like we're two different wolf packs trying to sort out territory without a fight. I reckon Asher realises this too. She looks at me quickly. What do you think, Izzy? I shrug. If they can teach us to do a flat ground ollie, they can stay. Luke looks at me. Is that a deal? Deal, I say. Luke nods. Go on then. Let's see what you're doing. I walk over to the ramp and put my skateboard down. I feel embarrassed. I'll probably fall flat on my back, and Luke and Scott will laugh at me. I push off and try to jump with the board, but it doesn't stay with me. Luke doesn't laugh. He watches me closely. You're doing it wrong, he says. And as soon as you flick the tail end down, you need to drag the side of your front foot up the board. That gives you lift. He puts his board down and shows me. Now you try. I have another go, and the board actually lifts a little way from the ground. Luke folds his arms and nods. You've almost got it. Now do it again and again. Just keep doing it. I push off again, slamming the tail down and sliding my foot up the board. It lifts for a moment, and I'm up in the air. The ground is a blur beneath me. Woo! I shout. That's it, Luke grins. Scott gives me a thumbs up. Go, Izzy! Asher yells. I'm only in the air for a second, but it actually feels as if I'm flying. Now that's the end of chapter 4. Now obviously tomorrow's Friday and I'll be reading chapter 5. But next week, what I'd really like to do is, rather than using pictures from the front cover of the book, if you'd like to do any illustrations that are linked to the story so far, if you want to send them to the class email address, classt@stjohnsacademyclifton.co.uk. What I'll then do is I will then use them in the videos for next week. And that applies for anyone in Class T who's listening, anyone who's listening from other classes at St John's, because I do know that other classes have now started to listen to the story as well. And it also applies to anyone else out there in the world who is listening to this through the YouTube channel. You are more than welcome to submit your pictures too, and they will include it. I just need to ask for them to be on next week's videos. Please can you have them sent to me by midday, that's 12 p.m. on Friday. That would be brilliant. Okay, thank you very much, and I will be joining you tomorrow again for the reading of the next chapter. Remember, keep safe and keep washing those hands.